Yeah, thanks for making it on, Mike.
Yeah.
This should be a fun show, despite the fact that we're down two of our usual panelists, both away on assignment. Esper's always a good hang.
Oh, that's kind of
intrepid editor over here on the show. Brandon's always holding it down on the bass, and of course,
I love the bass.
I got your lead vocals, baby. Judas Priest. I feel so down, I can barely even bring myself to follow the arrow that's pointing towards the smoothie bar. This is episode 384 of Insert Credit, a podcast where we talk about video games until we're drowned out by a horrible buzzer. I'm Alex Jaffe, and my last podcast recording was 25 hours ago.
I'm Brandon Sheffield. My last podcast recording was... I don't think I can do it in hours, but a week and 2 hours ago.
That sounds about right. That's the math.
Is what it is.
We're your one and only, Brandon.
But this time.
We're your forever podcast. Joining us, filling out while Ash and Frank are on assignment, is our beloved editor and producer, Esper Quinn.
Thank you, Alex. My name is Esper Quinn, pronouns she, her. And the last time I was on a podcast, like I was recording with people, is that the prompt?
Yes.
Okay, that would have been, I might have done an episode of Topic Lords between now and then, but you know what? I made a very brief cameo in a show that we'll talk about during recommendations, so we'll come back to that.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
How long ago was it?
I don't know, it came out yesterday.
Yeah, it came out yesterday as of this recording. Last Wednesday as of this episode's release.
Wednesday.
We have another guest joining us. He's been a localizer for Nintendo, a writer for Samantha Bee, The Tonight Show, Bill Nye Saves the World, and a new memoir about growing up in video games. Good game, no rematch. Mike Drucker.
Hello, and the last podcast I did was 30 minutes ago.
Oh, I know the one.
Yeah, you know the one.
These were our accursed rivals, the After Hours Aftermath podcast that record at the exact same time as we do. So we're always competing for the exact same guests.
They got to me first. They got to you first this time.
Thank you for packing us both into your schedule. We're recording a little later than usual. I'm fine with it. We're I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
I thought Kind of Funny was our rivals for some reason. I don't
Kind
know where
of
I got
Funny.
that idea.
I don't wipe my shoes on Kind of Funny.
I did theirs on Friday. So
get back to me when you're actually funny. Don't undercut yourself. This is a cutthroat market.
Wow.
What a vibe on this episode.
Wow, I'm learning a lot as I start this.
Yeah. This is the podcast where we're going to ask you questions you have never heard before in this entire circuit, or I'll eat both my Bondi 7s. Let's get into it. Hey, how about that Switch 2 Direct this week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was there.
They showed off a new console, right? Was that it? Was that what they did?
They did do it.
Princess Peach had some new outfits.
Yes. Okay. This we can talk about.
Yeah.
I made a post saying that, I'm not going to get a Switch 2 at launch. I probably won't get it when they launch the $600 Tom Nook edition. Mm-hmm. But I am materially impacted by new Princess Peach outfits because that's what my Blue Sky feed is just artists drawing Peach in a cute jacket and shorts.
What is it about Peach that you think inspires the culture?
That's a great question. I think it's kind of a Barbie situation where in many ways she has attributes. We know things about her, but she's really a blank canvas and can fit a lot of different roles. It's not weird to see her on a motorcycle. It's also not weird to see her as a cavalier fencing. So she's a real all-rounder, I think.
I think you've hit on something here. Princess Peach is the Barbie of video games, despite the fact that there are a number of Barbie video games.
Yeah, I don't think Barbie is the Barbie of video games.
And Bratz games, which you quoted at the top of this episode.
That's true. I did do that. You caught me. You get a credit for that, I guess. By the way,
I'll take it.
I feel like I need to address the last time you were on this show was as host when you were just giving away credits like candy to whoever was on. Mike Drucker, by the way, I award one credit for anyone who does the best job on this show to be redeemed for a smattering of prizes later.
I'll take it.
I haven't given it to you yet.
No, I'm taking it. It's already mine.
You can't. I'm the arbiter.
Yeah, here
You
we
know
go.
what? I'm going to give Mike 5 credits. I think that's
God damn it!
Writing that down,
great
5
start.
credits.
God damn it! I will
Thank you.
walk off this podcast. Esper, you are docked 5 credits, specifically
no.
4
Wow.
all the credits
Wow.
you've given out.
I'm currently at -4, or I'm at
you're at
5
negative-
credits per 5 credits.
You're at
I've given out.
-3 right now because I just
Okay.
gave you a credit and you gave away 4 extra credits. I'm discounting the one I was I allowed you to get.
Okay, that works
Because
for me.
I'm fair.
I appreciate
Anyway,
that.
Nintendo Direct.
All right, so that's everything about Nintendo, I guess. Our
Yeah.
credits.
Yeah. What else did they even talk about?
The mouse, you can use it as a mouse, a little Joy-Con as a mouse.
Yeah,
Bring
it's a
back.
little mouse.
Yeah,
I want to bring back Mario Paint. I want Mario Paint again. That's all I want.
That should be built into the console.
Yeah.
That should be
Yeah.
the Astro Bot. That or like a Mario Maker thing. It seems obvious.
Put that fly swatter game in there.
Speaking
Yeah.
of things that should be built into the console, maybe that tech demo should be free that they
Yeah.
advertised. They're
Yeah.
like, here's a cool tech demo. PS, please pay for it.
Maybe a WarioWare clicked.
Oh, I'd love
Brand
that.
new 1-2 Switch is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those directs where like I would be like, oh yeah, then I'd be like, oh no, oh yeah. Like it was one of those very up and down directs because like
Yeah.
the games look amazing. The prices are a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And of course, like, look, I appreciate that we want a child-friendly way to chat with their friends. You want an easy way for you to play, when I play bowling with my dad, which I play on the Switch Sports Bowling, he doesn't know how to use Discord. Did we need to do this for 20 minutes of a 60-minute presentation?
Yeah, there was a bit of a lengthy bit of it.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody in the industry who will remain nameless, who they forced their children to watch the direct with them.
Oh no.
And despite Nintendo's own protestations to the contrary, the kids were like, "This just looks like another Switch. It just looks like a more, just like a more powerful Switch." But Nintendo directly was like, "As you can see, it's more than just a more powerful
Yeah.
Switch." I'm like, is that what I saw?
basically,
There's
yeah.
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it being a more powerful Switch. Frankly, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you tell me that that's not what you showed me, then I feel a little funny.
Yeah, that's fair. I do, and I feel bad for Nintendo because they do have like that like middle ground between like every time they do a big experimental system, it's either the biggest success ever or the massive biggest failure of all time.
Yeah.
So I could see being like, all right, let's try to do something slightly more safe rather than reinventing the wheel and then going back in the hole. Like,
Yeah.
I get why they do this.
I think they should have spelled it the S2iitch, the Switch. I think that's what
I think they should have called
done.
it the Switcher and done a little Project Red collaboration.
It's the old switcheroo.
Yeah.
They could have
I
called
would
it.
have called it the Switch Advance. I
Yeah.
think the Game Boy to Game Boy Advance upgrade is more akin to what we're talking about.
Call it the Switch Boy.
Yeah.
Switch Boy. There we
I call
go.
Switch you. Switch you.
Switch Pocket.
Oh yeah, the Switch U.
There was like a
Yeah.
Forbes article that said Nintendo must do what they have almost never done: put out a good console after putting out a good console.
Yeah.
Oh
That's a
my!
good point.
I think also another strong candidate: Switch with 2 eyes.
Oh,
I like that.
Switch. Yeah.
Switch.
Switch.
Why haven't we been calling it that the whole time?
It's a Switch. Then Mario could say it, no problem.
I think that's just going to be insert credit policy going forward.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
that we
the
ever
Switch.
talk about Nintendo usually.
Ash will be very confused.
Yes. She'll get on board pretty soon. What do we think of that Bloodborne sequel that's not a Bloodborne sequel?
They missed me in every vector possible. I don't care about Souls games. I don't care about Nintendo games. If I had to play like any game from that lineup, Mario Kart looks okay, but I'm very curious to see what they do with this Mario Kart. I really hope it's good.
That's time. We are not going to talk about this Switch anymore. I do want to talk about something else. I've got a list of topics here. That's usually how this goes.
That's a good
And
idea.
This is my second one. This one I wrote before I knew Esper was going to be on the show, but maybe you'll have something to say. What's the hardest problem you've ever had to solve in game writing or localization?
Oh my!
That's a really good question.
I can do a quick one.
Yeah.
And it'll be quick because we've all heard it before on this show. But it was when I had to naturalize and localize a 110-year-old Hungarian poem that had never been brought into English before, and I did not speak Hungarian. So that was one of the hardest challenges for me to solve. But another cool one is when I was working on Samurai Showdown 5 Perfect, and the big thing about this game was that it had story. Samurai Shodown 5 previous versions did not. And so there was a bunch of text, and it was all written in like each character's individual voice, and there was actual weight to it and character to it. But I had the same amount of characters to work with, which was like 23 or something. It was a ridiculously small number of characters that I had to work with. So like all the nuance had to get shot. Not all of it. Much of the nuance had to get shot out the window. I kept what nuance was possible within the window. Anyway, that's what I got. Mike,
it's a good one.
As far as localization's hard to say because I only did localization for a couple years. I do think that the week where my Japanese translator was gone and I had to use Google Translate to update the Japanese team was so fraught with me being terrified. Oh, yeah. And like there was someone who would spot check it, but they didn't have the resources to like just give me a different translator. And so they'd be like, yeah, that looks fine. Go ahead, send it out. And I must have sounded so stupid to them. Like there must have been them like, and it was a Sakurai game. So it was someone I wanted to impress because it was Kid Icarus Uprising. Oh, no. And I can just imagine them being like, what? Who the hell is this person? It was also fun because that was when I was introduced to the phrase, hey, you look tired. Good job. Which is like, I think my translator had always avoided directly translating. It was my favorite thing to learn that you look tired, you garbage bag is them giving the highest praise possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means you're working.
As a writer, I would say the biggest challenge was I was actually writing for Full Frontal with Samantha Bee like the day that our studio was being shut down because of COVID. And so a couple crew members agreed to stay and all the writers ran home and me and the other head writer, this woman, Kristen Bartlett, had to rewrite basically half of the show very fast. So we had 20 minutes. We knew the building was shutting down in an hour and we only had 45 minutes with which to shoot a half-hour episode. So we like ran in, rewrote everything and kind of just like did it on the fly. And it was a super exciting day. It was obviously before the world shut down for a year, but that was probably like the biggest challenge, but also rush I've ever had in writing for TV.
Esper, what was the hardest episode of this podcast to edit?
The hardest episode of this podcast to edit was one where we lost Frank's audio and had to replace it all sort of on the fly.
Fun.
Oh yeah.
That was a good time.
That was quite
I'll have
good.
A link to it in the show notes, everybody.
Mike, when I was in college, I ran a show that was on like the USC's cable network, Trojan Vision, and and I was getting later and later with my bits. It was like a what's that guy, Bob whatever, the fellow what introduces movies and talks in between them, you know, Joe Bob,
not Leonard Maltin or something, right?
No, he's a Bob. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Don LaFontaine?
No, well, I'm sure a lot of people do it. Anyway, regardless, there's a guy who talks and he introduces USC student films, and I was writing the bits in between, and I kept getting later and later and later with doing it, and then eventually I stopped watching the short films at all and started just writing rapper bits, and then I started just writing them on the day and not giving him any prep time. But the show kept getting better and better as that happened. I don't know if you've ever
don't overthink it.
I don't know if you've ever experienced that that complete mania and surprising your actors sometimes works, but that was what I found. I mean, at least for something that was supposed to be that stupid.
Just get it out the door. That's all that matters 90% of the time.
Sure. Here's my next one. What games have fundamentally changed the way you think about video games?
WarioWare.
Yeah?
WarioWare, just the way that it feels like a breakdown of games, the way that it's also like kind of the story is about a man cynically making trash video games.
Yeah.
Just, you know, the idea that you can simplify certain gameplay tropes down to a small 5-second bite. I think playing it when I first played it in high school, it was like, oh, there's a video game about video games. And that to me was almost like a revelation.
For me, that game that taught me that exact lesson was a Flash game called You Have to Burn the Rope. And it's a side-scrolling thing, and it says on screen, there's a monster, you have to burn the rope to beat the monster, good luck. And the only thing you can do in this game is jump up on a platform, grab a torch, and burn the rope. And it takes 5 seconds. And then after that, there's like a 5-minute outro song singing about your heroics. And I think that's just an excellent little distillation of basically a joke. I don't even think there's a fail state to it, so it's not really a game. But for a long time, I was like, I think this is probably my favorite video game.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was good. I feel like for me, it was that when your idea of video games fundamentally changes, it has to be something formative, I suppose. So for me, it was probably something like Nights into Dreams when I found, it sounds kind of trite, I guess, but you're supposed to be like on a track and you're in sort of 2D space, even though you're in a 3D world. But then if you fail to be Knights and you just run around the world, there's just like all this extra stuff you can see. And I was like, oh, and that was the game that made me realize that the third dimension was not my enemy and that there could be cool stuff to 3D, because I was very like 2D all the way.
These new consoles aren't coming to take your toys away. They want to give you more toys.
Give me more toys. I was still resentful of Sega being left in the dust, but that's not my fault. That's their fault.
Yeah.
We've litigated that before. Yeah. What do you think is the most recent game to make you like rethink video games?
Balatro.
Ooh.
But I think it's because they simplified something down to such a pure level that it was, again, almost like if you boiled down every deck builder ever made and what's the most basic building blocks of this? That's what it felt like to me.
You want to get your paradigm shifted again? The official pronunciation is Balatro.
Oh, is it?
That's what Local Thunk says. They also say that or he also says he's a he him.
I wasn't sure.
I have found he says that you can pronounce it any way you want, but the official pronunciation is Balatro, which I don't really like that.
It's pronounced Magic the Gathering.
It feels weird. It feels weird to me. For me, the most recent is probably Indica, but we talked about that on the show quite a bit.
We sure did. Mike Drucker, you play Indica?
Really did it.
I didn't. I keep wanting to, but it's one of those games that like every Steam sale goes into my cart, and then when I'm like, I'm not going to spend $300, ends up leaving my cart as I do like the cruel calculus of what I want. So I want to. I just have not yet.
Well, it's short.
That actually helps.
Yes.
Yep.
It's the insert credit 2024 game of the year, and you can finish it in an afternoon.
Yeah, less than 5 hours.
That actually sells me on it.
Yeah.
That sells me.
Crow Country made me realize that what I don't like about horror games isn't atmosphere or graphics or anything like that. It's that I don't like kind of having bad controls forced on me in tense situations. And by taking out the tense situations, playing the no monsters mode, really, I was like, okay, I could play through all of Silent Hill if I didn't have stuff attacking me, I think. But as it stands, I kind of need that to get into a horror game, I think. But that was a big change for me. Before, horror games were fully off the table.
That makes sense.
I have a close friend who's been bugging me to play Soma. And he's like, you could play a version where the monsters don't attack you. And like, as much as I'm not a horror game guy, it feels wrong to me to like betray the core premise of the game that way. So like, if you're going to play it, you need to put yourself in that situation. Do I need to break myself out of that mentality, or am I correct?
Well, I think with Crow Country, most of it is creepy vibes rather than the monsters. And so I think specifically with Crow Country, it's totally fine to play without the monsters because it's still weird and strange and interesting without them, which is one of the cool things about that game, one of the many.
With the Silent Hill 2 remake, like one of my least favorite things about it was how much they amped up the combat. Like the combat wasn't harder. There's just 1,000% more of it. And that to me was like one of the few negatives I had about it.
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't play the remake because I was Because I never finished the original because I'm a bad video game person.
Yeah, the conclusion of that is Brandon's a bad video game person.
Bad video game person.
So, Brandon and Mike, both of you had done some corporate work and met a lot of significant industry figures. Esper, you have a whole life I don't know about as well. You're a woman of mystery, so maybe this applies to you. I don't know where your travels have brought you. Sure. I just want to ask all three of you, I don't see him very often. What can you tell me about my uncle who works at Nintendo?
Last time I talked to him was around Pokemon Red and Blue, just after that came out. And I think he was busy putting in all of the things behind Bill's lab and underneath that truck that you have to use strength on.
Peekaboo, that was him. Yeah, that was one of the last times I spoke to him too. He was very proud of that.
Very formative. That, and then I think he's on Smash announcements now.
Yeah.
Every new character that comes out, all the Fortnite guys, he's putting them in Smash right now.
Yeah. It was a really big coup when Sora showed up at the end of that last Super Smash Bros. Yeah. Everyone was giving my uncle shit for that. Who's laughing now?
Having worked inside Nintendo, I'm going to say the most uncle thing that your uncle's probably doing is there's a box of rejected, unapproved peripherals that he's going through. Just taking like the third-party stuff that no one really wants, just kind of being given away because it's not going to be mass-produced, and just putting it in his bag, being like, I can flip this.
Oh, yeah, Joy-Con wheel? Perfect. Excellent.
Great. It doesn't fit the Joy-Con, but they don't know that on eBay.
Yeah, he's as far as me, he's keeping on the down low right now because it turns out that everything he told me about the Switch 2 was true.
Oh, you mean the Switch?
Wow.
Including
that's dangerous.
Yeah, including the secret stuff that hasn't been revealed yet. I believe
the third
that
Joy-Con.
Also, yeah, right. The third secret invisible Joy-Con.
Right.
We all know where it goes. It's
in our hearts.
Yeah, it's in our hearts. That's I don't know. I think he's I'm worried about what's next for him. Last I heard he was thinking about making a Switch.
Yeah.
Company wise.
Oh, so now that he's made the Switch, he's making a Switch.
Now he's making a Switch.
He's making a Switch too.
Yes.
In addition to the Switch he's already made.
Yes, he is making a Switch as well.
Switch too.
Yeah. He put that Switch on first.
Yeah.
But I've heard he's moving to Sony. I don't know what he's gonna do there.
Oh, that's gonna be strange. He's been at Nintendo so long.
So that's what makes me really suspicious and a little nervous about this. Is what's Sony gonna do with all those secrets?
I assume they're gonna put Mario and Astrobot.
Mario Astrobot.
Yeah, I mean, if I've learned anything from what Sony's done with Spider-Man, they're going to put everyone but Mario in Astrobot.
Makes sense.
That's right. I guess Sony they have like the rights to like all the B tier and all the villain stuff, like for movies anyway. That right? That's what their deal is.
To Spider-Man stuff specifically, which is a broader category than you'd think, but still not an especially broad category.
Yeah,
indeed. Yeah. I don't know nothing about that.
So it gets you making Kraven the Hunter movies. And they're not even doing those anymore. I don't know what they're doing. I think they're doing animated stuff now is the thing, because that's the one thing.
They didn't do a single Black Cat movie. That seems like such an easy, come on.
I mean, there must have been someone, it might have been my uncle, who was talking to Sony at the time, who was like, I don't know, remember what happened to Catwoman?
What you want is Madam Web.
Yeah. We let a woman star in a movie once, and it didn't go well for us.
The market just won't respond.
Yeah, that must be it. Man, I got to talk to my uncle. It's really the end of an era. Jeez.
But it's uncle not necessarily 100% reliable for information, as we have established, not all the time. Yeah. So maybe he's not. Maybe he's not going to.
Yeah.
Does he have any info on the PS6? I gotta know.
Oh yeah. There's rumors that
that's what he's for.
There's rumors that there's going to be another PlayStation Portable, and who are those rumors coming from? You got to put the numbers together. I mean, when you put a P upside down, that's a 6. That's
That
right.
makes sense. Wow.
That's true. You just blew my mind.
That is. You are not
I gotta
ready.
go talk to your uncle about this. This is gonna blow everything
Whoa.
That's
wide
really
open.
something to think about, huh? We're all going to have to consider that as we take a quick break right now. Here's what I've learned about the improv zone, Esper. If I don't call it an improv zone, I can still do it.
I'm going to label it as an improv zone in the show notes. And they're going to be so mad.
They'll be so mad. I made them do an improv zone. Oh, you fool. You did an improv zone. I just didn't call it that.
Which one?
Oh, nothing, Brandon. Never mind. That wasn't for you. Welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time to go to the question hole.
All right.
This is the part of every episode where I take a question submitted to us by one of the patrons at patreon.com/insertcredit who take that opportunity to send us their questions through a form you can access exclusively through that Patreon page. They also get monthly bonus episodes and other real cool stuff that you're going to have to go over and start paying to find out what it is. It's a bargain at twice the price. The best deal in video games. There's never been a better value. This question comes from Steve with a B, who asks, at current, what is the best thing about the video game industry? And what is the worst thing about the video game industry?
At current.
At current.
Well, they're designing some new Princess Peach outfits these
That's
days.
true. Yeah.
That's true.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Best thing about the industry at large would be they got some good games coming out still.
Yeah. They're making
Still,
cool video
they
games.
haven't run out yet.
Yeah.
Gonna be a couple more years.
It like, and I'm not saying anything about money, but it does feel like it's a little easier for an indie game that does do well, like Ballatro, to like break into the mainstream than it might have been maybe 10 or 15 years ago, where like, you know, my dad is playing Ballatro. I'm going to say Ballatro because I will go crazy if I have to do this another way.
It's pronounced sweet.
It's in a Balotro. Anyway, but I think, like, to me, I do like that it does feel like those are taken more seriously. I could have seen an era where something like that would have been seen as, like, kind of like some, like, almost treated like the way people treated Flash games, where they're seen as, like, sort of like third-tier games rather than significant entries on their own.
Yeah, I think there is the possibility for an indie game to be as pervasive as a Peggle or a Wordle or a something else that maybe there wasn't as much in the past.
Bubble
And then
Bobble.
on the flip side, all the other games sell 5 copies.
Yeah, that's the bad side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe the worst thing about the industry is all the human suffering and inequality of
Yeah.
billionaires kind of coming in and
Yeah.
ruining the planet at large. But
Yeah.
that's not unique to video games by any stretch.
I will reveal a little bit of the question writing process. I had a week to write this show, and until a few hours ago, every question was, how fucked are we right now?
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's not everyone. Many people have the experience of being overworked and underpaid. But it's a real weird, unique scenario to be the person who is both overworking and underpaying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is the situation that I'm in. Sorry, I'm distracted by my vicious dogs that are so mad that there are 2 mail trucks.
They're on
just
strike right now.
They're just
Yeah.
not
They
gonna
demand
get
better
over it.
conditions.
It's solidarity for you. They're barking on your behalf.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, they want me to treat myself better,
Yeah.
which I would agree would be
The
nice.
barking will continue until you're nicer to yourself,
That's right.
until morale improves.
Mhm.
The dog union called WAG. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Mike.
I'm so sorry.
That's why they pay you the big bucks. That's why you're the professional Hollywood writer.
That's right.
I did it, folks. I did it. We did it, Joe. We did it.
Presence justified.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not even going to take that credit I gave you back.
Nice.
All right.
But
I think we've
yeah.
addressed that.
Yeah.
What's the best video game ad that you've ever seen on an actual television?
Wow.
But-
God, it's got to be. Best is very scare quotesy, but
Yeah.
it's got to be that one that you know what? I saw it on my phone. I guess this doesn't count. But it's that one where there's like there's like you're hanging out with your grandma. It's a lady hanging out with her grandma. It's CG, and it feels like everything's cute and nice, and then suddenly the grandma gets taken away in a police car. And the music gets all sinister.
Oh yeah, I know this one.
She holds a note up to the window and it says he's still alive.
Yeah,
something like that.
What is this for?
I don't know.
Some dumb mobile game. Some like Candy Crusher type.
Ebony Online. You know, like is one of those.
The game. I don't want to like plug it, but I guess for accuracy and journalism's sake, the game is called Merge Mansion.
That's right, Merge Mansion.
My favorite thing is that before that, there were like, I remember when they were A/B testing what the note on her hand was. There are different versions of the commercial.
There's a lot
like,
of versions.
It was me, or
yeah.
Weird.
Or and there was one that was like, save me, and she doesn't look angry or sinister. She looks like it's like the cops stole my grandma.
You need to pay $4.99 for gems to get her out.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm trying to remember like TV commercials for video games, and I'm like, there was that Gears of War commercial that I didn't like.
Yeah. Honestly, like the Final Fantasy VII commercial might have been misleading, but I think it was very effective for the time period.
It's true.
I had already been aware of it, but like when you saw those commercials on TV, you were like, oh, video games look entirely different now, even though it was just the FMVs they were showing.
Yeah, that's when you knew the Saturn was over, unfortunately.
I do think that Sony's TV advertising, particularly during sports games, is probably effective because whenever the subject of video games comes up, my 68-year-old dad goes, PlayStation! So he knows what that is.
Yeah, and
it's a big Kevin Butler fan.
And whenever I think about whether it's in the game, I have to remark it's in the game. So,
that's a good one. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's I think another kind of sea change ad for me was when Sony again moved away from like the "you are not ready" type edginess stuff to the Crash Bandicoot in a costume.
The costume,
being like a funny guy, and those ads were actually amusing to like a regular person. I think. That was pretty solid. Those were good.
I watch a streaming channel online called Toonami Aftermath, and the whole hook is that it's old cartoons and stuff, and they have a bunch of commercials from the era. And I'm just thinking of all the dumb, like, there's a Metal Gear Solid commercial where it's a drill sergeant and he's training some guy in like a kiddie pool. And he's like, what does this do? It's gonna be like, it's a suicide mission, Metal Gear Solid. And I'm like, what is this attempting to convey to anybody?
Yeah.
But like, I remember a Mega Man 3 commercial where like, it was like a guy who had like a briefcase and all these people were trying to stop him like he was a secret agent. And then at the end of the commercial, he opens the briefcase and it's just a copy of Mega Man 3. And it's like, there's nothing about the game in there. There's nothing if you knew what that was.
I thought it was going to be like a blaster cannon or something.
Nope. It was just like a man was trying to avoid the Russians from knocking him out to get Mega Man 3.
Yes. I do remember there was a WWE match at one point that was sponsored by the video game Drakengard.
That makes perfect sense.
That makes sense to me.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. That's the most insert credit that wrestling has ever been.
I think that's true.
I remember being super, super hyped as a kid when there was an ad for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time at a movie theater. And they were just, I was like, oh, wow, video games are a legitimate thing. They're
now that I'm being advertised in movie theaters.
It's real. It's real. Video games are real. That was a big video games are real moment for me. I think that's a watermark for a lot of people, specifically with Zelda, like the crying at real Zelda graphics at E3.
Yeah. Those four happy Zelda lads were used. That you can that iconic where they're all posing. That still sometimes gets used in Japanese video game presentations about like appealing to the West or the Western fandom versus the Japanese fandom and stuff.
Maybe the Beatles of video games. People just losing their minds over it.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically Americans.
Can't think of any other specific ads that
David Lynch did a PS2 commercial.
Oh, that's true.
See it on TV.
Yeah, I didn't see that on TV either.
I mean, I think I did see like the original like Legend of Zelda rap on TV when that was first airing. Yeah. But like it didn't sell me on Nintendo. It was more like, even as a child, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon, we're almost at the end of the question here, and I'm very surprised you haven't brought up the like original Dreamcast ads.
So I didn't see those on TV, but the Japanese Dreamcast ads, not the original ones, but the ones, I guess they were sort of original, starring the CEO, where he was talking about, he was getting made fun of by small children who were like, Sega sucks now. I don't like Sega very much. And he goes home to his house and he's like crying, and then it's a Dreamcast ad, and it's like, please buy the Dreamcast.
That's effective advertising.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. It worked super well. It was good. And Sega to Sanshiro as well. But I didn't see those on TV because I lived in America at the time.
All right.
One last quick one. That's the original Smash Brothers commercial with everybody in suits beating the hell out of each other to Happy Together. Yeah. That's a classic.
Mike, we've introduced you a couple times to the what or who is the blank of video games, which is a thing we talk about all the time on this show. Today, I would like to ask about somebody you know. Who is the Jimmy Fallon of video games?
That's a really interesting question. This will be a somewhat, I'm going to say this, that this is neither a criticism nor a compliment, but I would say Jeff Keighleyme.
That was my immediate instinct as well, as soon as you said the question.
Sort of like wants to be involved in a little bit of everything, really prefers to be on sort of like the cheerful side of things, might not always be as excited to talk about like rough things going on in the world, and very presentational based. So that is my answer. And again, I mean that neither as a compliment or a criticism. And if anyone there from the government is listening to this, I love you more than I love this podcast.
No, fuck you. You nailed it. And I'm mad not because I'm mad because you nailed it in less than a minute. Because
there's no more room for discussion.
Yeah, I have a policy that when I come up with these, I can't be able to answer the question myself, or it's not good enough. And now I am mad at myself for not thinking of that before this show.
And my special gift to you is I'm not going to be rude about Jimmy Fallon, just in case anybody that you've ever worked with listens to this podcast.
Thank you.
Esper, do you want to be rude about Jimmy Fallon right now?
Oh yeah, let me go on a tear.
You.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Are there Borderlands writers who are known people? I'm trying to think. I think Jimmy Fallon is a great answer because Jeff is a great answer because they're both trying, like, in my mind, to be as harmless as possible, at least in their presentation. Yeah. Like they really feel like they're representing something, and they just want to give everybody a good time, and that's what you get.
Yeah. You brought up Borderlands writers. I think it's a little cruel to call Randy Pitchford the Jimmy Fallon video games.
That's a little mean to Jimmy Fallon, maybe.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe that's Jay Leno.
I would also say that I think that having worked with him, he would say that he's the Jimmy Fallon of video games just because he likes them. That's not me speaking in some official capacity. I just realized that if you actually asked him who he thought, he'd be like, me. So I don't, but again, I think Jeff Keighleyme's the right answer.
Yeah.
I forget if it was even the Tonight Show, or the show he had before, Late Night. Like,
Late Night, yeah.
He would bring on game developers and people to play games at a time where, like, that was not a super common thing to happen.
One of the weirdest moments working there when he was like, hey, did you play Persona 5? And I was like, yes. And he's like, who'd you romance in that? And I was like, I did not expect this question from you.
Yeah.
And I forget who he romanced because I think I went through this around the world explanation of like, well, I feel weird as an adult. So I went with dating the adult, but now I feel that I went weird with dating the adult.
Okay.
And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can really over explain yourself into sounding much worse that way.
But he does like games. He does actually like video games.
Based on the fact that every episode is about him trying to get a celebrity to play a game with him. I assume he was into that.
And very competitive.
Yeah.
Very competitive.
I believe it.
Yeah, I guess I was gonna say Reggie.
Yeah.
But I think Reggie's not exactly right. There's something there with the kind of Stark enthusiasm.
Yes.
It's like a blanket enthusiasm. But I think Reggie He doesn't have the weird fire.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Reggie's
say
a different guy.
It does explain why he was a guest on Fallon a lot.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, maybe that's also part of why I'm putting
Who's
2 and
Jimmy
2.
Fallon's Smash main?
Smash main? It's probably one of the animes. That's my guess.
Oh, you think it's a Marth?
Wow.
I think it's a Marth or a Quarth or a Zarth. One of those.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who his Mario Kart main is, because I haven't played any Smash with him, but I've played a lot of Mario Kart. And I want to say Bowser, but that could be one of the producers.
Mm.
That makes sense.
That's not really inside baseball. That's just me trying to remember.
That's an exclusive scoop here on Insert.
Here on Insert Credit.
I feel like he'd go for like Donkey Kong. That's a.
Yeah, I
don't
could
know.
see him being a Kong guy.
But it sounds like from your side to side head motion that is not correct.
Oh no, I'm just not sure.
Donkey Kong and Bowser are virtually the same gameplay wise. They're the heavy characters.
Yeah, big boys.
Yeah. I was for sure he would be like the Yoshi or Toad direction. Shows what I know.
I could be
I
remembering
think
wrong too.
Donkey Kong has a tie, so
Yeah,
when you work
true.
late night, you
That's
got
right.
That's true.
Yes.
Gotta dress up.
solidarity there.
Yep, a tie and no other clothes. That's
The ideal late night
so this is a
outfit.
perfect
All right.
late night bit.
Jimmy Fallon has his own Ben and Jerry's ice cream. What would Jeff Keighley's Ben and Jerry's ice cream be?
Vanilla.
Keighleyme pie.
I'm sorry. Yours was
Pretty
better.
good.
Esper, we have our episode title. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think that's got to be it.
All right. With that, because we can't top that, who could? Try to beat that kind of funny. We're going on to our lightning round. We're playing one of my favorite. Yeah.
I want to ask Mike a question. I don't know if I have to spend a credit to do so.
You do, but you have
God
them to
darn
spend.
it. Okay, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to
Okay.
do it because I want to ask you about writing for video game trade show awards because
Yes.
you've done it many times.
Yeah.
Or at least twice. I don't know how many times have you done it.
8.
8.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
And they used to be not yours, but the vibe used to be very, very cringy stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a market shift when like Tim Schafer and you, I would say, both started writing for these things. So I'm just curious how your process goes writing those. Which ones you've written as well. I know you've done Dice Awards a few times, etc. Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm very curious.
I've done Dice Awards a bunch. I've written like occasionally like ghost written some jokes for speeches here or there, but Dice Awards are the only awards that award shows for video games I've written for. I've also written for like Golden Globes and ESPYs and shit, but that's not important. Dice is important.
Well,
And so,
you could throw that in there too because it's still like
Who cares about the Golden Globes?
It's still like requiring
Dice was more fun.
Yeah.
a depth of industry knowledge and insiderness in order to make certain kinds of jokes that industry insiders will find funny, but also a general audience will appreciate.
Well, the nice thing about something like Dice is that they obviously do have an audience watching, but it's not like the Game Awards where it's like specifically
Yeah, that's not the
front-facing
point.
with the
Yeah.
awards at the back. This is more like the awards are the important part. And I think because Greg Miller and Stella Chung are, in the industry rather than like a Jim Brewer or other outside comedian that's being brought in like they did it in the 90s and early 2000s, they have a little more buy-in because the industry people know who that is. It's not just some asshole who's coming and being like, Fortnite, more like Fartnite. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's someone who actually knows about it.
Oh, don't give that gold away.
Oh no, I'm writing that down after this. I've got 2 stand-up shows tomorrow. I'm doing them both starting with Fartnite. And so because he has a little more buy-in, you can also be a little meaner. And meaner, I mean like criticizing, like not this year, but last year, we kind of shit on the CEO of the Embracer Group while he was in the room and got an applause from doing that. And I think that's something that you wouldn't have done 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, again, like, one, they're hiring people like me or Tim, or there's another writer on the Dice Awards named Devin Coleman, who I worked with on Mystery Science Theater 3000. And I think it's people who really like games, and they're not like, again, in the 90s, it was like hired guns who probably played one video game once, but had to work backwards from a nominee list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who does Tom Servo play in Mario Kart?
That's a good. I mean, I would just think Tom Servo somehow. He'd make himself as like a me in Mario Kart 8 somehow.
I know Rob was playable in one of the Mario Kart games.
I think he would play Sonic All Stars Racing and play Mecha Sonic. That's what I think.
Ooh, That's a good call.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Makes sense.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to me, all that award show stuff, because you know, like at E3 we would see these. They weren't award shows, but they were trade show presentations, and they would get some Hollywood person to be like, "You filth," just like they'd be like, "You idiots,
stupid, ugly basement dwellers,
touching your controllers in the basement where your mommy brings you juice." Whatever.
Which can work if it's the right person, but I feel like for a lot of those, also being on the other side of this and having done some corporate stuff in the past as a comedian, there are situations where they hire you and they're very specific with what they want and they're very clear and it's a great symbiotic working relationship. And there's times they're like, no, just like make fun of us. Like just go out there and roast us a bit. And you're like, do you actually want that? And they're like, no, yeah, go out there, roast us. Come on, just make fun of us. But like, don't be too mean. And you're like, this is going to be the worst. And I can imagine a lot of those celebrities had that where they're like, we just want you to like, you know, be edgy because that's what our brand is, edgy. So just go out there and have fun with it, which is 0 instructions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just go for it.
Just go for it, man.
Just do whatever.
I worked for a marketing firm for a while where like anytime we had a question about the logistics of something, their canned answer was, just make it the ultimate fan experience.
Yeah, no problem.
Just make a viral video.
Yeah. Just do it. Just make it the best. Just I enjoyed
make the game of the year.
At the last dice, Stella was wearing a necklace that had these shiny circles that went down the center of her sternum, and I thought it was great because it looked like she had buttons on her physical body, so she could just like open up her torso if she wanted to. And nobody thought that was funny when I pointed it out. And in fact,
well, how did you say that a woman could open up her body from the torso?
Yeah, that's a little bit explaining your romantic interest in Persona 5 conversation.
I guess maybe there aren't a whole lot of fantastic ways to talk about that.
Brandon, you just got to make it the ultimate fan experience.
Exactly. That's all you got to do.
That's what I missed.
Just go for it, man.
It's the ultimate fan experience.
I should have gone for it.
All right. I want to go on to our lightning round.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite games to play. I call it name design. I'm going to give you a list of names from a different thing. You're going to pretend you don't know anything about that thing and just use the title alone to come up with what that video game would be. This week, all of these are singles by the band Panic at the Disco. We are going to reinterpret each of these singles as the title of a video game. Our first game is I Write Sins, Not Tragedies.
I write sins, not tragedies.
Alan Wake?
Yeah, Alan Wake.
There you go. Yeah.
Alan Wake. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time.
This is a mini-game compilation where you have both a threat meter and a good time meter.
Okay.
And the speed at which you complete the mini games and the skill at which you complete the mini games affects the meters. So, and it's very popular on Twitch.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people making pog faces.
It's the one when the digital showcases are coming up that everyone is just screaming, Jimothy! And you're like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And it's related to don't threaten me with a good time.
It's read to DTMWAGT. Yeah. Our next game is Build God, Then We'll Talk.
It's black and white. But okay. It's a game about being Peter Molyneux. It's like being John Malkovich, but you're being Peter Molyneux.
There's a game where you have to talk up your release and make all these promises, and then you have to live up to each of them. So like you set your own difficulty level.
Yeah, you got to build.
There's two phases: the hype phase and the build phase.
That's right.
That's very good. The Green Gentleman (parentheses) Things Have Changed.
It's Croc 2.
Oh yeah, Legend of the Gabos.
Croc 2, Croc harder.
Things have changed.
This is a cozy game where you run a garden, but there's a twist and you learn a little lesson about life.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, a Games for Change award winner that everyone gets fired from before the presentation. Girls/boys.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know if we can talk about what this game is on a family-friendly show.
Is that what this is?
Boys.
It's one of those.
I thought this was the ultimate fan experience.
It's one of 5 games that Steam recommends me because during COVID I got lonely and bought a porn game once.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a good one. Hey, look, Ma, I made it.
This is a game about potty training. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's got to be it.
Yep.
It's an educational game that teaches your child to use the toilet.
Viva Las Vengeance.
Oh, wow.
I feel like that's just a video game.
Yeah, that's just a good video
You
game.
can get that on the Xbox 360. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's still in the store.
50 cents Viva Las Vengeance is
a real 7 out of 10 game that you wrote about for insert credit in like 2003.
That's right.
I'm gonna say it stars an Elvis impersonator, but they can't say Elvis for legal reasons.
Yeah.
So it's just like a Las Vegas shoot 'em up. Yeah. You play the king resurrected.
Yes.
And it's voiced by a Kurt Russell impersonator.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. And our last game is There's a Good Reason These Tables Are Numbered, Honey. You just haven't thought of it yet.
That's Diner Dash.
Yeah. Well, this is usually where I would give out the credit for the episode, but Mike already took it. So congratulations, Mike. We'll talk about that after the show. Does anyone have anything they would like to recommend to our listeners or plug things they're got going on or things that they weren't involved with at all that they think our people should just check out or do?
Mike, it's time to talk about your book.
Yeah, Mike, you got a book coming out.
It's called Good Game, No Rematch. It is a book of very goofy, funny, humiliating essays about me growing up with games and making a fool of myself with them. Hopefully it's super fun, and it has nothing to do with the current moment in history.
I love it.
What a relief.
Nice.
What a relief.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Oh, it's available. Yeah, it's available anywhere books are sold. It's out now, and hardcover digital audio, and I also read the audiobook.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
That's excellent. Have you gone to bookstores to see if they have your book?
I still need to do that. It just came out. I know this is coming out later, but it just came out on Tuesday the 1st, which is 2 days ago. So I haven't yet, but I really want to. But I've had 1 or 2 friends send me photos from Barnes & Nobles that they've been to, which has been really cool.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah, because I was trying to find a new book recently, and I was trying to be a good person and purchase it in a bookstore, and nobody's got it. Nobody's got the book that I want to buy. It's very sad. So it sounds like your book's in stock, which is what we like to hear.
Yeah, and if it's not, you can ask your indie bookstore to order it.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
No, could also give Amazon some money. That would be nice.
Yeah, they're really suffering right now, so
they could
it's
use
there
it.
if you need it.
You know, a lot of people are boycotting Amazon, so they're really hurting right now.
Man, support our troops.
Yeah,
I will say, whenever I promote the book, I'll put like a link to Amazon because that's what everyone wants, and then I'll put like a couple links to indie shops. And no matter what, even though I'll put links to indie shops, someone will be like, "How dare you link to Amazon?" And I'm like, "I'm just trying to sell a book, man."
Yeah,
like
there will be both links in the show notes this week.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah, the Amazon link will be corrupt.
yeah. The Amazon link is just going to lead to an article about Jeff Bezos' divorce.
So I've been watching a lot of movies. None of them were any good this week, but I do just, if I don't know if Mystery Science Theater 3000 ever even got this one, but there's a movie called Star Night that it's got Harvey Keitel and Klaus Kinski in it, and it's very poor. But the one thing to enjoy about it is a young Harvey Keitel being an old timey knight, but he just has his regular accent, so he's like, "Forsooth, you guys hath ruined my armor."
Where's your god now, Moses?
Yeah, yes, it's just like it's just maybe you can watch a trailer and that'll get it for you, and that'll be all you need. But it's a really boring movie, and I fast forwarded through a lot of it. But hearing him be like, "Hey, I'm riding my horse here," or whatever.
I'm seeking the Holy Grail over here.
It's just like, it's so good. And it's like shot in Spain, and everyone else either has a Spanish or Catalan accent or is overdubbed completely by some random person. It's a huge mess. Not a good movie, but Harvey Keitel is funny. So
perfect for the recommendations segment.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's all I have this week.
Esper, you got anything going on related or unrelated to following the news?
I got 2 things I want to recommend. One is a new show by myself and my good friend Alex Jaffe.
Me?
Yeah, you. It's called DC Action News. It is a 10-minute or less news segment from the DC universe. I know we talked about it last week, but now I'm here and I want to talk about it too because I edit it and I love it. That's
so
the show
good.
that I was referring to at the top of the show, where I have a very brief sound cameo as someone shouting, "Ow!" in a
It's kind of the funniest part of the episode.
Nice. I believe it.
Thank you. Very,
believe
very
that.
sweet. Excellent. And then the other thing I want to recommend has also been recommended on this show before, but Common Side Effects just finished. If you have not watched it, I really think it's like the best Western produced television show of the last 5-10 years.
Oh.
It's just a rocket ship of a plot. It is gorgeous animation, hilarious characters. Like, it is 10 episodes, half hour each. You can knock it out in a weekend.
23
and
minutes
you will
even.
have a very, very good time with it. Please watch Common Side Effects. And season 2 already confirmed.
Yeah,
So,
I'm happy about
Awesome.
that.
me too.
It is really good. We were watching it last night and I was remarking that weirdly, I feel like this show, unlike their last show,
Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's Reign, doesn't need to be animated and
Sure.
would probably...
there are parts where it gets to it where you're like, okay, I see why this
Sure.
looks like this. But
I assume the main reason is because they worked in animation before already, and they
Yeah,
got
Mike
Mike
Judge
Judge
is
involved
involved,
and
yeah.
whatever. But it's one of those things where I'm glad it got a season 2, but it feels like it's written like such a regular, in a non-insulting way, TV show that if it had been live action, I bet it would be like number 1.
oh yeah, it'd be super
know?
prestige.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It'd be very expensive to make though, and Adult Swim wouldn't produce it. But
Right. So I guess that's probably the
it's-
other thing.
really, really cool story, great characters, and for the animation. You're right that most of the scenes are pretty like straightforward and live actiony in the way that King of the Hill was in a lot of ways. But there's
Mhm.
quite a bit of like, we're going to get into some psychedelic territory here, and it's nice to have that as an option.
Yeah.
So check that out.
Hard to make a cute emotive turtle
That too.
in live action
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, do check it out. It's a good show. Good show.
Yeah. I've got some recommendations, if you would be so kind as to afford me the space to do it in this moment.
I would be.
I suppose.
Here's what I would like to recommend. I would like to recommend to you, the listener, that if you enjoyed this episode of Insert Credit, or any episode for that matter, that you rate and review our show wherever and however you can. I'm talking iTunes. I'm talking Spotify. Those are pretty much the two main ones, unless there's another I'm unaware of. But I would also recommend that you support us directly with your contributions to patreon.com/insertcredit, where you can submit questions to us, get monthly bonus episodes, and a whole bevy of other treats and whatnots that they can't put tariffs on that. If you'd like to sponsor our show
Not
with
yet.
an advertisement or personal message, or submit your own horrible buzzer, you could do that by emailing me at show@insertcredit.com. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com, lovely as they are. Or find us, if you're not watching our beautiful faces already, on youtube.com/insertcreditshow. Wishlist Demon School on Steam. Why haven't you done that yet, you freeloader? Go listen to DC Action News, the other podcast I do with Esper, or 52 Pickup, the other podcast I do with Esper and the great Gita Jackson. And remember to check out Good Game No Rematch wherever books are sold, but especially Amazon. Music from this episode is by Kurt Feldman, and editing is by our very own Esper Quinn. I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
I'm Esper Quinn.
Mike Drucker.
And your game has now been saved. We did it.
Wahoo!
We did it. We
yippee.
did it. We did it. We did it. We made
Good work.
the ultimate fan experience. We don't have to do another one of these.
Finally, insert credit is over.
This is our 384th try. We finally did it, Mike. I'm so glad you could be here
Yeah,
for
thanks
the
for being
one
part of
episode.
this journey.
Thank you.